Thank you for downloading this episode of In Our Time. For more details about In Our Time and for our terms of use, please go to bbc.co.uk/radio4. I hope you enjoy the programme. They've troubled some of the greatest thinkers, from Plato and Aristotle to Kant and Hegel. The 20th century saw a big change in the way some philosophers approached their subject. Developments in logic offered a powerful new tool for philosophical analysis. Thinkers began to see language and understanding the way we use words as the key to gaining philosophical insights.
I'd like to welcome our guests, starting with Lucy van Dirks,
Professor of Philosophy at Birkbeck, University of London.
Chris Toher,
Regius Professor of Logic at the University of Aberdeen, and
Greg Jaspers,
Professor of Philosophy at New York. Quote, somebody must have been telling lies about
Davy Boy.
For one morning, without having done anything wrong, he was arrested.
Well, now, Gearing Hasthorpe was arrested in November, around the time of the first snowfall for that winter, and they celebrated as Śniadanska, which obviously means the first of the snow to fall is the last of the bird to cry, and it does sum up what he believed, and being arrested was an integral part of his blossoming into who he became as DGH Melvyn. Now let's take a look at one of his famous speeches to the people upon his localization. Can we roll the tape there, Greg? Thank you.
Who are you? Who are you? I am Nigel Prinklybottom.
Now, Melvyn, there's two things that we should pick up upon from this opening to his speech, and one is the fact that he addressed himself, or he addressed the crowd, with his own name as Nigel Prinklybottom, which meant that for him this name was indeed a name of the people, the most common name. Prinklybottom was like modern day Kovacs, maybe, and he wanted to show that he was part of the people. And who are you? He wanted to get them to face their moral predicament of what they were, or their existential positing. And we also notice his breathing. His breathing is how do we say? His breathing. He's shoving it in our face. He's breathing very heavily to show that he's alive. And a lot of people didn't understand that. They thought he just had a trouble with his breathing, but no, that took a long time to enforce those strong inhalations through the nasal passages. He seems to be a man who works in second degree, some sort of a satirist. Do we have any example of that? Well, I think we do. In fact, we have a record of him talking to the people of Coventry. I'm just going to roll it for you here.
I've got the clothes. I've got the looks. I've got the money. Shushan.
Yes.
Filling out on Levancho's attendance sheet, and he's right at the end of his lesson, so he's going to have to pay for some more. Yeah, I'm that good that I'm a right-to-come teacher.
Well, two things about this clip here, Melvyn, and the first is listen to his goings-on about payment and reinforcement of the capitalist regime, all of which contradicts with just later political influence and his own legacy. So he is a young rebel man influenced by this Carlo and this Cahill character. And secondly, he shows aspirations to be what he became in the writer come teacher.
Can we come back to you, Jessica?
What about The Fall?
Yes.
Well, The Fall. The Fall is a famous moment during a speech where he was
telling us something new. He wanted to show us some technique he used for washing up, and he fell over. We have some footage. Let's listen in to DGH.
One other thing that I'll show you is my
Do we have any more footage of DGH that might explain this enigmatic figure at all? Well, we do actually. What we have found are snippets of him laughing, him talking about dice. We're not really sure what dice means. And as well, he's talking about someone going to Eton College. I think it's one of his old comrades, Noel. Let's give it a listen here.
That's good eating, though. It's good eating. The dice rolling is so sort of kind of calm and repetitive. It's kind of like we're sort of gangsters playing Russian roulette or whatever. Yeah. That was no.
Hi, baby smell.
On that baby smell.
Yes. Can we come back to you, Jessica?
The burn.
And also, Ryan, just before we finish this interview, if you could choose between, or if you had to choose between an electric shock on your eye and a burn on your bum hole, which would you choose?
Let's choose the electric shock. They're equally strong. What? Equally strong.
Just a little one. It's not something that's going to permanently damage you, but you're definitely going to feel them both.
Yes.
Sviani. They've got Sviani. Alright, Dave. Have they got Sviani? They've got Sviani. Now, these words are now our national hymn, or local hymn, and we don't know where they came from. We're suspected they came from this period of dice rolling and apple cutting and sludging. But let's have a listen to this composition that we have now and is now so famous.
Yes.
Sviani. Have they got Sviani? They got Sviani. Have they got Sviani? Have they got Sviani? Have they got Sviani? They got Sviani. Have they got Sviani? Have they got Sviani? Alright, Dave. Alright, Dave. Sviani. Have they got Sviani?
Yes. As I read from the notes, it includes things like forgive your enemy. I mean, we're getting very close to something that happened about 300 years later, something that was said then. So it's in the currency of moral instruction then.
He's trying to inculcate in people and says, I'm inculcating these qualities because they will benefit you in this life and the next.
Yes. Can you explain that in a bit more detail? Why is...
Here's another clip.
Yes.
Like I said.
No.
What is this like? What did they call it? Like that conditioning therapy?
You can work out
CBT?
where the autobiography stops. You know.
Did he write his own biography?
Yes.
Now let's move on to what we call the Irish years of DGH's life.
Yes, so what we understand by some of the language that he used in his letters is that he spent a lot of time in Ireland. We're not exactly sure where, or well, in fact, some people state that to be a falsehood, that he in fact befriended a rogue pair of Irish expats while working in Bordeaux, which is of course modern day Fnac, and in a small town in the Czech Republic north of Bacha.
So Gearing Haslop was influenced by his two Irish buddies, as they did say. Do we know anything about those fellows?
Well, we can identify one as being either Carl or Carlos or Carlo or Carly O'Mahony. Many names floated around at that time. Sobriquets include the Ginger Whinger and the Buddhist Am. The first one must be related to the fact that this Carl character had to have been a ginger merchant, and Whinger was the title used during this period to describe a seller of ginger, All references to Buddhist or Am have not survived.
Interesting, fascinating. Tell us more about DGH's relationship with Carl, or Carly, and the effect it had on his writing and his politics, please.
Well, DGH
Greg.
famously said, "Embrace the savoury," when he was unveiled as supreme localizer.
He said it like this, yes, embrace the savoury.
Correct. What has been cut out of that speech since then has been the preceding sentence, "Worry not, like Carly did, about dessert, but embrace the savoury." We can take from this that DGH regarded savoury as a key component in the setting up of localisation.
What about in any of his own literature? Do we have any references to Carl in this literature of his?
Well, apart from dietary influences upon DGH, we know that Carly is responsible for the title of the localised flag, which was created with his help. Jack and Nori appears on postcards sent from DGH to O'Mahony before the setting up of localisation.
Yes, and in his cabinet years, DGH often dispatched researchers and erudites to see this Carl figure. He sent, the Middle-Aged Women's Alliance to investigate the idea of menopause for all women over the ages of 25, and with some alarming success. Would you agree?
Quite a convincing character was Carlos, and DGH was, for want of a better word, enamoured with Carlos. Confided and trusted in him even into the latter years, if word of mouth is to be believed.
Thank you very much, Greg. What about the other friend? He was also Irish, was he not?
Well, yes, we think so. Less is known about the other friend. In the book of localisation, Gather Round, there is a story of young Noli who flicked his hair in the air at the bus station.
Is that why we...
Yes, Melvyn, that is why we say flicking at the station to mean dancing. It does derive from this, we believe. The problem with this Noli character is that he was important to Gering Hasthorpe. We know that much for sure. His name and legacy have survived, and we don't know why.
You say Gering, it's Gering Hasthorpe, is it not? You say it's survived, but what exactly has survived from Gering Hasthorpe?
Well, sandwich sizes.
Yeah, you continue. Keep going.
A full knoll, a minnow, and a toll. These are all references to this person. The sock wrestling move a no ankle seems to have its roots embedded in this man's name.
Wow.
As well as many other expressions and trinkets. The list goes on.
But there are theories. One theory that this Noel or Noal or Noli character never actually existed and was created by DGH himself. Where is the validity in that, Greg?
Well, there are no other references to him. We have no other sources except for DGH's own writings. Carly, on the other hand, is present in the writings of scholars like J. Ram and C. Lacey. That is where the doubt comes from. DGH was suspected of being schizophrenic.
But surely that's all glorified positing.
Certainly, but we could entertain that this Noli character never existed, and he was DGH's alter ego.
Wonderful, Greg. Now, what about the later years of David's life? The culinary times, the famous Giulia Vita, which we all now love.
Yes, the crescendo of his culinary masterpieces, which has now been adopted as a local dish known as a Giulia Vita, translation and etymology unknown, perhaps linked to jewellery or crumbly crackers. But his first notable contribution was the Bancomat Helena, which we are currently eating.
Yes. Rather homely, wholesome, delightfully addictive.
Yes, indeed.
Is the Bancomat a reference to how cheap this dish is? And Helena would be a Hellenic reference to the beauty of the dish in a Trojan sense?
Certainly. It's made up of brown rice, fried eggs, olive oil, and salt and pepper.
Yum.
There are many variations to it, one being the jested Giulia Vita, where the final mixture is doused in snow.
There are, of course, two dishes of which our listeners may be more knowledgeable that are a part of everyday cuisine. One being a praplet, or prappers overseas, a pear apple egg mix which is eaten everywhere from spring equinox onwards, and the infamous brishops.
Well, of course, now the traditional cold weather food for most after a long day. Brishops is served to miners, construction workers, cleaners all across the world.
And can you describe what's it made up of originally? What is it made up of?
Cheesy deposits, peas, sweet potatoes, and more cheesy deposits. The cheese sauce needs to be smooth and boiling hot. The sweet potato has got to be steaming and massive, and the peas inconspicuous.
blocks of ice. What was he? What was he so interested in ice for? Especially in block form that was specifically located on a floor of some sort. Why?
Some believe the DGH spoke in riddles. Others felt that he pined for his homeland of spoons and crimson slopes. His sentence was unique, even for the time. Most of his, what we call his Irish acquaintances, were unable to understand most of what he said, but that seemed to be because of pure stupidity and gin intoxication.
Well, thank you all the listeners. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you to my guests. First of all, Greg Jaspers, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Lucy Van Dirks.
Thank you.
Chris Toha.
Thank you ever so much.
And Andy Scott over there. Can you hear us, Andy?
Toodly-doo.
Greg, just one last question. What attracts you to the life of DGH now, long since dead? What makes you study this crazy political localizer so much?
DGH's life was fascinating. All the different places he lived in, the people he met, the food he ate and didn't eat, the people he didn't meet, the places he didn't go. Everything was fascinating.
The places he didn't go.
It tells a lot about him.
Okay, and what about the rumours that your great grandfather, Jonathan Jaspers, had a sexual relationship with DGH at the end of his cabinet years?
I think they were highly and wholly unsubstantiated.
Well, so I will put it to you that you live your fantasies of your great grandfather by masturbating every night and thinking about DGH.
I put it to you that I don't. But the odd time DGH does appear in my subconscious, I will confess. And sometimes it may be in a sexual form of a bird.
Well, you've heard it there. Thank you very much, Greg. That's it from us at Inner on Night Time. For more information of Inner Night Time, please go to our website at www.bbc.co.uk/radio4/Inner Night Time. Thank you for listening.
There are many more Radio 4 arts and discussion programmes to download for free. Find these on the website at bbc.co.uk/radio4.